I mean, and there's two parts I want to talk about here. The confession letter, which they brought up as being this is a big deal. Look at his confession letter.
Yep.
I mean, it looks like something that maybe a kindergartner wrote. Big weird letters. It's not really consistent. It's all over the board on a piece of paper. It was a recreation that a reporter made because we can't see the actual evidence itself, but it doesn't look like the work of anyone who's competent. Right? And like
Right.
a note, like I hope I can say sorry to the families. It's just it's not the work of someone who's writing a confession letter, in my
Right.
opinion.
Yeah, I agree. We've talked about the confessions earlier on as well. The way he was treated in the court system, the way his mental health has been talked about. So we don't know whether it is or isn't. But there's issues there, and the
Yeah,
issues by the way he's been treated, and the fact that you described what that letter looks like. That's not shocking or surprising. I am not, and that Gull's allowing the judge is allowing the confessions to
mhm.
stand because they weren't coerced. She said uh,
I c
coercion
yeah.
and mental anguish, where's that line drawn?
Mental anguish essentially is coercion at a certain
It is
point.
to me.
It's exactly what that is. I mean, you're breaking someone down,
Yeah,
and it
in
doesn't.
isolation for how long,
Yeah,
in
and
his filth.
and how reliable is that, especially from the spy world, Robin, of breaking someone down to get information? How often do you actually get accurate information by doing that, or do people just eventually crack and say whatever they think you want to hear to stop you from doing what they're doing to you?
It's funny you bring that up. You're so right, though. I never, ever, ever, and that's a very definitive line.
Hmm.
I have never used it, never done it, because it is the most sure way to have someone not tell you the truth.
Hmm.
Because people will say anything to allow themselves to feel safe again. So when you start, and a great friend of mine, Jack Schaefer, wrote the book, The Truth Detector, as well as The Like Switch, as well. My other friend Joe Navarro, the body language expert. All these people will tell you, even using the word of elicitation, they won't even use the word of elicitation where you're compelling someone to tell you the truth, and they think it's all manipulation and everything. But we use this thought process and phraseology differently. We think, how do you inspire someone to share the truth with you before they have an opportunity to lie?
Hmm.
And the way you do that is you allow them to feel safe that it's okay to tell you the truth. There's lots of interviewing strategies to engage, but you're going to do things like rationalizations, projections, minimizers. You're going to help someone feel safe that it's okay to share information which might not be in their best interest. And you do that by not coercing, by not cajoling, by not definitely not using manipulation or subterfuge, because all those things do not allow the other human being on the other side to feel safe with sharing information with you. The worst thing you can do to inspire confession is to show someone their shame. Another great author I love, Mike Reddington, he's a certified forensic interviewer. That is the worst thing you can do. And he's gotten people to confess just to minor things, shoplifting,
Hmm.
in stores where they have no video evidence, but he was able to inspire them to share that they, did the shoplifting thing, because the last thing he did in the world was he showed them their shame. He used what we call deep, deep empathy,
Hmm.
which is seeing the world through someone else's context and lens. And so all those things to me were missing when getting these confessions. And even I have other friends that worked at Guantanamo Bay, doing interrogations of terrorists. They didn't do that.
Yeah.
It does not work. I always say, I worked a lot of confidential human sources in my career in the FBI. And I always said this. I said, I'd rather have 7 people give me 120% of their effort willingly than 100 people give me 5% of their effort unwillingly.
Hmm.
Because you can't trust any of the information. So it's always about the behaviors of trust are really simple: open, honest communication, transparency, vulnerability. When you display those behaviors, you make the conversation about the other person. You don't show them their shame. You inspire them then to want to share the truth before they have an opportunity to lie. There's my
So
long monologue.
no, so you're saying locking someone in a solitary room for years on end with no trial and very weak evidence against them, and then to be tormented by judges or by prison guards with Odinist patches on for years on end, that may produce unreliable results.
So as a behaviorist, you know, it's really funny. No kidding, Tony.
Yeah, yeah.
You're exactly right. So as a behaviorist, when I hear things like that, I no longer am listening. I mean, my mind automatically tunes out to what the individual that's locked up says.
Yeah.
My mind automatically goes to what inspired them to want to do that to him.
Yeah.
So my mind shifts not from
Mhm.
him, but to those that inflict that on him, because that says more about them than anything coming out of Alan's mouth
Yeah.
in that situation, because that can't even be counted. You know, it's why, I've known and I've worked with polygraphers my entire career. You know, polygraphers will tell you the same thing.
Mhm.
The polygraph machine is a great prop. When used well as a great prop, it inspires people to tell the truth before they have an opportunity to lie. Because all the machine does is measure physiological responses to stresses and thoughts.
Mhm.
That's why, when you're working in the spy world and you're working with people that have, like intelligence officers on the opposite side, they fall in love with their own narrative. They can lie all day long and completely pass a polygraph because they believe it.
Yeah.
Method actors are the same thing in the movie industry.
Yeah.
If you're a method actor, you are living that life of who you are. And I guarantee you, they could probably pass a polygraph when they're in method acting role for a role they're doing because
Mhm.
they're so into that character. It's who they are.
Yeah.
That's why polygraph is not admissible in court
Yeah.
because, again, it just measures physiological responses. So, any physiological response Alan has to the stressors he was under, what he's saying in those situations, I'm not really paying attention. I'm paying attention to who are the people doing it to him
Yeah.
and what was their purpose for doing that.
Yeah. Confirmation bias, I would guess, in a lot of cases. It's like, we got our guy. This is the guy who did that to those kids. And if you're not a
And we're
deep
gonna make
thinker,
him
you're going to
confess.
feel, oh, yeah, he's a horrible human being. You still can't do that to a prisoner. I mean, when you get your wits about you and you're not thinking like a 10-year-old anymore, it's like, yeah, you can't torture the prisoners. They have to go to court. But if you're still thinking like a 10-year-old, you're like, yeah, let's poke him with a stick and nobody's going to stop us because that's the atmosphere, that's the climate of that prison, which it seems like it kind of was, according to many of the reports that we've heard. Let's talk about one other issue here. That's the unspent bullet that they found at the crime scene. Apparently, it was like face down into the mud. Um, this is literally the only physical thing that the state is saying connects Richard Allen to it. Why? Because he has a weapon that could put this bullet in it, technically. Um, so did all the police who walked around that scene for hours and days, and there was a lot of them. And they found the bullet, by the way, after the police were on the scene, walking around looking at it. They argue that the science of this, of the bullet itself, if you look at it, that it would have been cycled through this gun. Now that science, it's not the most reliable, especially for an unspent bullet as well. This thing was not fired through the weapon. It was just allegedly cycled through. I mean, this is what they're putting a lot of weight on. How much weight does something like that truly hold when that is the only thing that they say could technically connect him to the scene?
A forensic firearms expert is going to have to show how it's actually an Allen's gun. I have a Sig Sauer. Does that make me a suspect in this? It is a
Apparently,
very
according to
common
Delphi,
weapon, very
yes.
common. So here's my other question. So here's my advice to defense on this one. So here's a man that seemingly, if it is him, was able to and have the wherewithal to scrub the entire scene of all his DNA, but he
Yeah,
leaves a bullet behind.
yeah,
Spike from the pattern.
yeah.
It's either one or the other. He's either really, really good murderer or really, really bad murderer. And if he's really, really bad, he would have left the bullet and a lot of DNA evidence.
If you're strangling two children and slitting their throats, there's a good likelihood that you're going to have some DNA on them, in some way, shape, or form. It's very rare that you would not have anything. So either
I
it's a,
know.
did they not examine the crime scene well enough, or they did and they just don't have the pieces that add up to him. I mean, hell, they found hair in one of the girl's hands. Allegedly, it belongs to a family member who's female. That doesn't help a whole lot, although it does make you question, why do you have a handful of your family member's hair? Uh, which I guess is a
Mhm.
pretty valid question at a murder scene. But it's there's just more that continues to come in here that does not point to Richard Allen. Um,
It just
I'm waiting.
this is more to me a case of, and it's sad because the families are still looking for justice. Alan's looking for justice, but this seems to be a case of really, really bad police work to me.
Yeah, it feels like that, and I've said it from the beginning. is there a conspiracy going on here? I don't know that there is. I think I've said it from all along. Like I said, it's simply somebody fucked something up. So we gotta cover that up. Oh, we got to cover up that we covered that up. We got to cover up that part too. Oh crap, I got to cover up that now. And it just layer, and then it starts
Spirals out of
looking
control.
really bad. This is what I think happened with Karen Reed too, where it's not necessarily a crime that they're covering up as if they were someone, one of them was involved or something of that nature, meaning the police force, but more so just incompetency or bad work. And
Yeah.
then it starts looking really, really bad. And in the
Again, it
meantime,
goes to back to the victims' families. They're the
yeah,
ones still paying the price for it.
exactly. Then they have to pay the price for it. They have to go down this road with this man who may not very likely be guilty, but they want justice. So they're going to have a preconceived a bias there of, well, maybe he should be. They want somebody to go down. I'm not speaking for them, but they were testifying, and I can tell from what we can see. They're hoping they got their guy, but who knows at the end of
I hope that at the end of this, whatever the verdict is that everyone is 100% convinced it is what it is,
the day. Yeah.
because if it's not, if someone walks away, especially the victims, and say, "I hope we were right,"
Mhm.
that means for the rest of your life there's going to be doubt,
Yeah.
and it's not fair.
I agree. It's I just don't know that we're ever going to get to that in this case.
Not yet.
Hopefully, we get somewhere close. Hey, thanks for checking out the video. Be sure to follow us wherever you download podcasts, and especially Apple Podcasts, where you can get advanced episode and premium content on our premium channel right there. Also, be sure to follow us on social media so you don't miss any breaking updates on the stories that matter to you most. We're on TikTok, X, Instagram, Facebook. Just search Hidden Killers Podcast with Tony Bruschi, and you'll find us right there. Again, thanks for watching.